commanding, had his soothing effect on my frayed nerves. Naramdaman kong may nagpupunas ng maligamam na bimpo sa noo ko, sa leeg, sa braso. It felt nice. The coolness was a welcome relief. Elias. Elias D. I heard myself whisper his name. This time, clearly. Bakit ko ba sinasabi ang pangalan niya? I felt him stiffen slightly. Or maybe it was just in the imagination. Rest, Limbrak Sandoval. You have a high fever, he said, his voice still professional, but softer now. Mas malapit. Masakit ang ulo ko, I managed to say, your eyes still closed. I know. The medicine will help soon. He continued to help the nurse with the sponge bath. His touch was gentle, careful. Hindi katulad ng ini-expect mo sa isang doktor na mukhang laging seryoso at strikto. There was a tenderness there na nagpakabog sa dibdib ko, kahit na nanghihina ako. Para bang hindi lang pasyente ang tingin niya sa akin at that moment. Or was just hallucinating because of the fever. Si Basti D. Okay lang si Basti Mars. Nasa pinsan natin. Matulog ka na lang, sagot ni Ate Liza, puno ng pag-aalala. I could feel the kay Montemayor's presence lingering. Naramdaman kong inayos niya ang kumot ko. Ang unan ko. Small gestures, but they spoke volumes to Din's fevered mind. You need to fight this infection, Marisol, he murmured, so low that wasn't sure if Aunt Liza heard it or if I even heard it correctly. Marisol. He called me Marisol. Not Dimrak Sandoval. In my heart did a stupid little flip. Stupid heart. May sakit ka na nga, kung ano-ano pa ang nararamdaman mo. The fever made me bold, or maybe just plain reckless. I didn't know what came over me. Maybe it was the vulnerability, the fear, the strange comfort his presence brought. Maybe it was the memory of the arroz caldo, the way he fought for my treatment, the drawing of Basti in his office. Or maybe, deep down, I was just craving for its connection, a human touch that wasn't purely clinical. And the eyes fluttered open, and he was there, standing beside the bed, looking down at me with an expression couldn't quite decipher. Concern? Yes. But there was something else. Something deeper. His face was close. Too close. I could see the flecks of brown in his dark eyes, the slight furrow in his brow. He smelled faintly of antiseptic and something else, something uniquely him. Masculine. Comforting. Thank you. Elias D. I whispered, did the voice hoarse. He just looked at me, his gaze unwavering. And then, did something incredibly foolish. Something I would probably regret in the morning, if I even remembered it. Slowly, with all the strength I could muster, I lifted my hand and touched his cheek. His skin was warm. He didn't pull away. Instead, he froze, his eyes widening almost imperceptibly. And then, I leaned in. Or maybe he leaned in. I wasn't sure. Everything was a blur. Our lips met. It wasn't a passionate kiss. It couldn't be. I was too weak, too sick. It was just a soft, hesitant press of lips. It was dry, feverish lips against his. For a split second, nothing happened. Then, felt him respond, just a slight pressure, a tentative exploration. It lasted for only a few seconds, but it felt like an eternity. Ang init. Ang sarap, in a way that had nothing to do with lust and everything to do with, I don't know. Connection. Desperation. A silent plea. And my whole body tingled. Parang may kuryenteng dumaloy despite the fever. It was confusing. It was wrong on so many levels. He was my doctor. I was his patient. I was sick. I was broken. Pero sa sandaling yun, wala akong pakialam. All I knew was his lips on mine, a fleeting moment of unexpected intimacy in the sterile environment of the hospital. Then, just as quickly as it happened, it was over. He pulled back, his eyes wide, searching mine. This time, I clearly saw the shock on his face. And something else, confusion. Regret. He straightened up, running key hand through his hair, looking flustered for the first time since I'd met him. Yung professional mask niya, biglang nag-crack. He opened his mouth as if to say something, then closed it again. At Liza, who had been quietly observing from the corner, oh God, nakita niya lahat, cleared her throat. Ehem. Dosi, baka po kailangan niyo na rin magpahinga? Gabi na po masyado. Her voice was carefully neutral, but I could feel her suppressed amusement, or maybe shock din. If Montemayor didn't look at her. He looked at me one last time, his expression unreadable again, a whirlwind of emotions I couldn't name. Then, without a word, he turned and walked out of the room. Mabilis. Parang may hinahabol. O parang may tinatakasan. Naiwan akong nakatulala, yung lips still tingling. Did that just happen? Did just kiss a doctor? A very serious, very professional, very guapo doctor. Oh, my God. Anong ginawa ko? At Liza rushed to Dimbay's side. Mars. Ano yun? Kinis mo si Doth, she shouted, half scandalized, half excited. I just stared at the ceiling, Jimbay cheeks burning, probably redder than his fever. Ate, hindi ko alam. Lasing yata ako sa lagnat di. Lasing sa lagnat o lasing sa pag-ibig, she teased, but her eyes were also filled with concern. Mars, doktor mo yun. Baka mapatrouble siya. O ikaw. Alam ko. Alam ko yun. Pero, I touched in my lips. It felt real. The memory of his lips on mine, however brief, was seared into the brain. Ang gulo. Ang lala. The medicine started to work, or maybe it was the shock of what I'd done, but yin fever slowly began to subside. Pero yung kabog sa dibdib ko, hindi nawala. What was he thinking? Bakit siya umalis ng ganun na lang? Walang sinabi. Did he regret it? Was he disgusted? Or was he affected too? So many questions. And the man who held the answers just walked out, leaving me in a state of utter confusion and a strange, new kind of killing mixed with dread. This was bad. This was very, very bad. Or was it? One thing was for sure, things between me and the alias Montemayor would never be the same again. That kiss, born out of fever and weakness, had changed everything. Paano na bukas? Paano ko siya haharapin? Paano niya ako haharapin? Natulog ako ng gabing iyon na gulong-gulo ang isip, pero may isang parte sa akin na hindi mapigilang umiti. Kahit na alam kong mali, kahit na alam kong komplikado, there was teeny, rebellious spark of joy in my heart. He didn't pull away immediately. He kissed me back, even for just a second. That had to mean something, right? Or was just a desperate, dying woman clutching at straws? Ang sagot, nakabitin sa hangin, kasama ng alaala ng isang halik sa gabi ng lagnat. The morning after the kiss was awkward. As in, super awkward. Hindi ko alam kung paano haharapin si E.T. Montemayor. Nagpanggap akong tulog nung dumaan siya for his early morning rounds with a gaggle of other doctors. Narinig ko lang ang boses niya, discussing this case in his usual clinical tone. Patient responded well to antipyretics. Fever has subsided. Continue monitoring for any signs of infection. Walang bahid ng kahit anong emosyon na magpapahiwatig na may nangyari kagabi. Maybe he was just really good at compartmentalizing. O baka naman, para sa kanya, wala lang talaga yun. A moment of weakness caused the patient's delirium. Nakahinga lang ako ng maluwag nung nakaalis na sila. Grabe ka, Mars. Award-winning ang acting mo dun sabi ni Ate Liza, na obviously, kanina pagising at nagmamasid. I groaned, pulling the blanket over my head. Ate, wag mo na akong asarin, please. Gusto ko nang lamunin ng lupa. Sus! Kunwari ka pa. Kinilig ka naman, she teased. Kinilig? Pero mas nangingibabaw yung hiya. At takot. Takot na baka na-offend ko siya, na baka magbago ang trato niya sa akin, na baka iwasan niya ako. Which in a way, parang ginagawa na nga niya. He didn't even look at the side of the bed during rounds. Para akong invisible. Ang sakit pala. Mas masakit pa kesa sa side effects ng chemo. Pero ang mas nakakainis, despite the awkwardness, despite the fear, key part of me couldn't stop replaying that kiss. His lips on mine. The way he froze, then responded, however briefly. It was like teeny spark in the vast darkness of his illness. Isang bagay na pinanghahawakan ko kahit alam kong delikado. For the next few days, J.M. Montemayor was conspicuously absent. Oh, he was still my doctor. His name was still on the chart. But he started sending his junior residents for the regular checks. Pag may kailangan talaga siyang i-discuss, he'd do it with Liza, or very briefly with me, always with a nurse present, always strictly professional, mata lang ang nag-uusap at ang mata niya, mailap. Parang may pader na ulit, mas mataas pa kaysa dati. Nasasaktan ako. Hindi ko alam kung bakit. Hindi naman kami. Wala namang kami. Pero yung distansya, yung biglang panlalamig, tago sa puso. Baka naman iniiwasan kanya kasi na-realize niyang inappropriate yung nangyari. At Liza mused one afternoon. O baka naman natatakot din siya. Natatakot saan? I asked, trying to sound indifferent, pero halata naman sa boses ko ang lungkot. Ewan. Sa feelings niya. Sa'yo. Sa sitwasyon. Ang mga doktor, Mars, sana yan magtago ng emosyon. Part ng training nila yan. One afternoon, while Liza was out buying meds and Bestie was at the play area within the hospital supervised TFE volunteer, I was alone in the room, staring blankly at the ceiling. Ang boring. Ang lungkot. I missed Bestie's chatter. I even missed Montemayor's stoic presence. Then, there was a soft knock on the door. Pasok, I said, expecting a nurse. The door opened, and a woman I'd never seen before walked in. She was beautiful, in a very sophisticated, intimidating way. Tall, slim, perfectly coiffed hair, expensive-looking clothes, and an air of confidence that filled the room. Parang model na napadpad sa charity ward. She smiled, but it didn't quite reach her eyes. Maricel Sandoval, I presume. Napatango ako. Ako nga po. Sino po sila? I'm Regina. Regina de Villa Montemayor. She emphasized that Montemayor. Nanlaki ang mata ko. Montemayor. As in related kay Elias Montemayor. She saw the recognition in the eyes and her smile tightened. Yes. Elias' wife. Well, ex-wife, to be precise. But some habits die hard, you know. Her voice was smooth, like silk, but with an underlying edge of steel. Ex-wife. Yeh, my heart did you were thump. So, he was married before. Bakit wala siyang nabanggit? Not that he needed to, pero. Upo po kayo, I offered, trying to be polite, though bigla akong kinabahan. Anong ginagawa dito ng ex-wife ni si Montemayor? She didn't sit. Instead, she walked around the small room, her eyes scanning everything, from the wilting flowers on his bedside table, a gift from a church group, to the stack of Bastie's drawings. Her gaze lingered on one particular drawing, the one Bastie made of me and Super Doctor. Cute, she said, her tone unreadable. Elias always had a soft spot for a good sub-story. Ouch! Sub-story daw ako. I'm not sure understand, Ma'am Regina, I said, giving voice a little shaky. She finally turned to me, her eyes sharp. Oh, I think you do, Maricel. Let's not play dumb. I know about you. I know Elias is your doctor. And I know Elias. He has a pattern. Pattern? Yes. A very destructive pattern. Especially when it comes to his patients. She leaned closer, her voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper. You see, the ex-husband, for all his brilliance as a doctor, is a deeply flawed man. He gets attached. Especially to the hopeless cases. The ones he thinks he can save, not just medically, but emotionally. Napakunot ang noo ko. Hindi ko po kayo maintindihan. Regina let out humorless laugh. Sweetheart, he's done this before. Years ago, there was another patient. Young, sick, vulnerable. Just like you. He fell for her. Hard. He moved mountains for her, poured everything into her treatment. He became obsessed. In my blood ran cold. Another patient. Oh, what happened to her? I whispered, almost afraid to hear the answer. Regina's eyes turned cold. She died, of course. Despite everything Elias did. And it nearly destroyed him. He wasn't just grieving her death, he was grieving the loss of his savior complex. He blamed himself. He shut down. Our marriage, which was already struggling, completely fell apart after that. Parang may bumara sa lalamunan ko. So, this was the reason for his walls. For his detachment. He was protecting himself from getting hurt again. Why are you telling me this? I asked, with a voice barely audible. Because see it happening again, Maricel. With you. Her gaze was piercing. Elias is investing too much in you. That aggressive treatment plan. That was him going above and beyond, wasn't it? Fighting with the board. I know his tells. And I don't want to see him go through that hell again. And frankly, she added, her voice dripping with disdain, I don't think you want to be just another one of his projects, do you? Another tragic story in his already tragic love life. Her words were like daggers. Each one hitting raw nerve. Just another project. Another tragic story. The arroz caldo. His defense of Eva treatment. The way he looked at me sometimes. The kiss. Were they all just part of his pattern? Was just a replacement for the patient he lost. The thought was devastating. The small spark of hope and kilig he had been nursing was cruelly extinguished. All that was left was cold, sickening dread. And a sharp pang of celos. Jealousy over a ghost. Over it past knew nothing about. Ang gulo. He doesn't feel anything for me, I stammered, trying to deny it, to convince myself. He's just my doctor. Regina raised two perfectly sculpted eyebrow. Oh, please. I saw the way he looked at your son's drawing when peeked into his office last week. The same way he used to look at her things. She sighed, you world-weary sound. Look, Maricel. I'm not here to be cruel. I'm here to warn you. For your own good and for his. Don't let him get too close. Don't let yourself fall for him. It will only end in more pain. For both of you. She paused, then added, he might think he's saving you, but who's going to save him when you're gone? The unspoken words hung heavy in the air, when you die. Parang sinampal ako ng paulit-ulit. The reality of Esvai's situation, of Esvai's prognosis, came crashing down on me again. Nga naman. May cancer ako. An advanced one. What was thinking, entertaining romantic notions about my doctor? Regina's visit was a harsh wake-up call. A cruel, but perhaps necessary, dose of reality. I understand, I said, Yinbi's voice hollow. All the fight had gone out of me. Regina nodded, a flicker of something that might have been pity in her eyes. Or maybe it was just triumph. Good. I'm glad we had this chat. She turned to leave. Get well soon, Maricel. Or, you know as well as you can. Then she was gone, leaving behind a trail of expensive perfume and a spasm of doubt and fear in my heart. Naiwan akong tulala. The room suddenly felt colder, emptier. Her words echoed in his mind, he fell for her. Hard. She died. It nearly destroyed him. Don't let yourself fall for him. Who's going to save him when you're gone? The image of C.A. Montemayor, a brilliant doctor hunted GI past love and loss, was heartbreaking. And the thought that I might be causing him more pain, that I might just be placeholder for ghost, it was unbearable. My gaze fell on Basti's drawing, still taped to the wall. Listenay Mama and her super doctor. Super doctor. A hero. But even heroes have their kryptonite. And maybe, just maybe, I was his. With trembling hands, I reached for the drawing. Tears pricked in my eyes. I couldn't do this to him. I couldn't be another source of pain for him. And I couldn't let myself hope for something that was doomed from the start. It was better this way. For both of us. Slowly, I took Basti's drawing from the wall. I looked at the smiling stick figures, at the red cape. Then, with a heavy heart, I started to tear it into pieces. Small, jagged pieces. Just like my heart. Liza came back, few minutes later, finding me staring at the pile of torn paper on my lap, tears streaming down in my face. Mars! Anong nangyari? Bakit mo sinira yung drawing ni Basti? She asked, alarmed. I couldn't speak. I just shook his head, fresh sobs racking my body. She hugged me tight. Ano ba yun? May masakit ba sa'yo? Masakit. Sobrang sakit. Pero hindi sa katawan. Sa puso. Later that evening, I found an old lighter Liza sometimes used for her pampaswort incense. When she and Basti were asleep, I gathered the torn pieces of the drawing. One year I set them on fire in a small metal basin, watching as Basti's innocent creation, his symbol of hope, turned into ash. Just like my foolish dreams about C.A. Montemayor. It was over. I had to put a stop to it. For his sake. For my own. Starting tomorrow, I would be just patient. And he would be just my doctor. Nothing more. The wall he had rebuilt between us. I would help reinforce it. Brick gives painful brick. Because some loves, I realized, were not meant to heal. They were meant to be reminders of what you couldn't have, of what you might destroy. And I couldn't bear the thought of destroying Elias Montemayor. Not again. The days following Regina's visit, and Eva's subsequent decision to build a wall, were bleak. Parang yung kulay ng mundo ko naging monochrome. Gray. Lifeless. Just like how I felt inside. Ginawa ko ang lahat para i-convince ang sarili ko na tama ang desisyon ko. Na para to sa ikabubuti naming lahat, lalo na ni Elias. Yes, Elias na ang tawag ko sa kanya sa isip ko. It felt more real. More painful. I became the model patient. Tahimik. Masunurin. Walang reklamo, kahit na ang tiyemo ay parang impyerno sa lupa. I'd smile politely at C.I. Montemayor, or rather, J. Ramirez, his resident, whom he sent more often now, answer their questions with detached yes or no, and generally make myself as small and unobtrusive as possible. The spark, the fight, that Elias had ignited in me, unti-unti kong pinapatay. Kasi, para saan pa? If I was just a project, a tragic story waiting to happen, then what was the point of hoping, of feeling? Si Ate Liza, napapansin niya. Mars, anong nangyayari sa'yo? Para kang nag-iba. Dati, kahit nahihirapan ka, may laban ka pa rin. Ngayon parang sumuko ka na, she asked one day, her voice laced with worry. I just gave her a weak smile. Pagod lang siguro, ate. Hindi siya naniwala, alam ko. Pero hindi na rin siya nagpumilit. She probably sensed how fragile I was. The most painful part was seeing Elias. On the rare occasions he'd come for rounds himself, I'd avoid his gaze. I'd focus on a spot on the wall or on his hands. Naramdaman ko yung tingin niya, trying to catch FBI, pero matigas ako. I couldn't let him see the pain, the longing. It would only make things harder. One time, he asked, Jim Sandoval, are you experiencing any new symptoms? You seem quieter than usual. I'm fine, doth. Just tired, I replied, with voice flat, devoid of emotion. I saw a flicker of something in his eyes, confusion. Hurt? Before his professional mask slipped back on, all right. Let me know if anything changes. And then he was gone, leaving me with a fresh wave of guilt and an aching heart. This is for your own good, Elias, I told myself. This is to save you from more pain. Pero ang totoo, sinasaktan ko rin ang sarili ko. Then, the inevitable happened. My body started to give up. Or maybe, the spirit did, and my body just followed. The chemo wasn't working as well as they'd hoped. The tumors weren't shrinking significantly. I was getting weaker, losing more weight. The side effects were unbearable. One morning, after a particularly bad night of nausea and pain, I told Liza, ayoko na, ate. Ayoko na ng chemo. Nanlaki ang mata niya. Mars, ano bang sinasabi mo? Hindi pwede. Paano si Basti? Si Basti. And why son? If my reason for living. Pero kaya ko pa ba? Para saan pa kung pahihirapan ko lang ang sarili ko, tapos sa huli, iiwan ko rin siya. Pagod na ako, ate, I whispered, tears streaming down in my face. Gusto ko na lang maging komportable. Makasama si Basti hanggat kaya ko pa. Ayoko nang lumaban kung wala namang patutunguhan. At Liza was crying too. Mars, wag kang magsabi ng ganyan. May pag-asa pa. Kakausapin ko si Ite Montemayor. Umiling ako. Wala na, ate. Kahit anong sabihin niya, buo na ang desisyon ko. Montemayor, when he heard about my decision, came to see me immediately. This time, he didn't bring any residents. He came alone. He looked stressed. Tired. May dark circles under his eyes. Parang ilang araw na siyang walang tulog. Marisol, he began, his voice low, urgent. He didn't use a direct Sandoval. That alone made my heart clench. What is this I hear about you wanting to stop treatment? I refused to meet his eyes. It's Imo's decision, doth. Your decision? Based on what? We still have options. We can adjust the protocol. We can tier the immunotherapy. It's too soon to give up. Give up? I finally looked at him, the bitter laugh escaping my lips. Dorothy, matagal na akong sumuko. Nung araw na nalaman kong may cancer ako at iniwan ako ng asawa ko. Nung araw na nalaman kong na baka wala na talagang pag-asa. Nung araw na nalaman kong baka masaktan lang kita. Didn't say the last part out loud. He ran a hand through his hair, a gesture I'd come to recognize as a sign of his frustration, or maybe distress. That's not true, Marisol. You were fighting. I saw you fight. What changed? His eyes searched mine, pleading. Ang hirap. Ang hirap panindigan ang desisyon ko pag nakikita ko siyang ganyan. Things change, doth. People change. I look away again. I just want to go home. Spend whatever time I have left with Eva's son. And what about Bestie? You think he wants to see his mother give up on him? His voice was sharper now. That stung. Don't you dare use Eva's son against me. I retorted, anger flaring. I'm doing this for him. So he doesn't have to see me suffer anymore. So he can remember me as his mother, not as his dying patient. Silence. The tension in the room was so thick, you could cut it with a knife. He took deep breath, visibly trying to control his emotions. Marisol, please. Don't do this. Don't do this to yourself. Don't do this to us. Us? In my heart skipped a beat.